A top story this Sunday morning, Prime Minister Modi wraps up his 3-day-long jam-packed US tour. On his way to India, the Prime Minister carried 157 artifacts handed over to him by the United States during his visit. These artifacts include a diverse set of items ranging from bronze Nataraj from the 10th Common Era, copper anthropomorphic objects from 2000 BC to the terracotta vase from the Second Common Era. These pieces also include figurines of human deities like Lakshmi Narayana, Buddha, Vishnu, Shiva Parvati and religious sculptures. All the artifacts given to Prime Minister Modi largely belong to the period of 11th CE to 14th CE. Out of the 176 antique pieces, 71 are cultural, 60 figurines belong to Hinduism, 16 from Buddhism and 9 from Jainism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has put terror-backer Pakistan on notice at the 76th UN General Assembly. During the address, Prime Minister Modi said nations with regressive thinking were using terrorism as a political tool. The Prime Minister also made a Make in India push for vaccines. Zeba Warsi brings us this report.
Democracy can deliver.
Democracy can deliver.
Yes.
Yes.
Democracy
has delivered.
With that, Prime Minister Modi began his thundering speech at the 76th United Nations General Assembly. Prime Minister Modi did not directly name Pakistan, but he didn't mince words while calling out those providing a safe haven to terrorists.
रिग्रेसिव थिंकिंग के साथ जो देश आतंकवाद का पॉलिटिकल टूल के रूप में इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, आतंकवाद उनके लिए भी उतना ही बड़ा खतरा है। विश्व के सामने रिग्रेसिव थिंकिंग और एक्सट्रीमिज्म का खतरा बढ़ता जा रहा है minorities को।
Prime Minister Modi also spoke about the Afghanistan crisis and the plight faced by minorities and women.
ये सुनिश्चित किया जाना बहुत जरूरी है कि अफगानिस्तान की धरती का इस्तेमाल आतंकवाद फैलाने और आतंकी हमलों के लिए न हो। वहां की महिलाओं और बच्चों को, वहां की माइनॉरिटीज को मदद की जरूरत है।
Next up was China, and again without explicitly naming the dragon, Prime Minister Modi warned about its expansionism designs.
हमारे समंदर अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यापार की लाइफलाइन भी है। इन्हें हमें एक्सपांशन और एक्सक्लूजन की दौड़ से बचाकर रखना होगा। भारत की प्रेसिडेंसी के दौरान बनी विस्तृत सहमति विश्व को मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी के विषय में आगे बढ़ने का मार्ग दिखाती है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed world leaders at the 76th UN General Assembly held in New York, and the one message that he did say across is that it's time for the international community to strengthen the global order and to stand in unison in the face of this global crisis. He talked about India's resolve in tackling COVID-19 and, of course, the vaccine manufacturing aspect of it. But without naming any country, he also hit out at both China and Pakistan.
The Prime Minister also spoke about India's COVID fight and the historic feat of making the world's first DNA vaccine while inviting vaccine makers to make jabs in India.
दुनिया की पहली डीएनए वैक्सीन विकसित कर ली है। दुनिया भर के वैक्सीन मैन्युफैक्चरर्स को भी आमंत्रित करता हूं, कम मेक वैक्सीन इन इंडिया।
He also had a crucial message for the United Nations.
संयुक्त राष्ट्र को खुद को प्रासंगिक बनाए रखना है तो उसे अपनी इफेक्टिवनेस को सुधारना होगा, रिलायबिलिटी को बढ़ाना होगा। यूएन पर आज कई तरह के सवाल खड़े हो रहे हैं।
Focusing on India, Prime Minister Modi called the country the mother of democracy and reiterated his faith in democratic values.
मैं उस देश का
I
प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहा
represent
हूं
a country
जिसे
that
मदर ऑफ
is
डेमोक्रेसी का
proud to be
गौरव
known
हासिल है।
as the mother of democracy. And
मैं अपने
I
अनुभव
am
से कह
saying
रहा
this to
हूं
you from my own
Yes.
experience. Yes,
डेमोक्रेसी कैन डिलीवर।
democracy can deliver.
यस
Yes,
डेमोक्रेसी हैज
democracy
डिलीवर।
has delivered.
On a more personal note, he spoke about his incredible journey from being a chaiwala to a prime minister, addressing the world's biggest political assembly.
ये भारत के लोकतंत्र की ताकत है।
The strength of our
ये
democracy
छोटा बच्चा
is demonstrated
जो
by the
कभी
fact that a little
एक
boy
रेलवे स्टेशन
who
के
at
टी
one
स्टॉल
time
पर
used to help
अपने
his
पिता
father
की मदद
at
करता
his tea
था,
stall at the railway
आज
station is today
चौथी बार
addressing the
भारत के
United
प्रधानमंत्री के
Nations
तौर पर
General Assembly for the fourth time
UNGA को
as
संबोधित
Prime
कर रहा
Minister
है।
of India.
From his strong message to Pakistan and China to hailing India's vaccine record to reaffirming his faith in democracy, Prime Minister Modi's UN speech had it all, and though it was less than 30 minutes long, its impact will be felt far and wide. With Zeba Varsi in New York, Bureau Report, India Today.
Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan spewed venom at the UNGA about Jammu and Kashmir. During his virtual address, Imran Khan brazenly spread fake propaganda. However, his lies were ferociously countered by India's First Secretary Sneha Dubey, who called out Pakistan-sponsored terror. The diplomat reiterated that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India and asked Pakistan to vacate illegally captured POK. Geeta Mohan brings us this report.
Undertaken a series of illegal and unilateral measures in occupied Jammu and Kashmir since 5th August 2019.
Pakistan
It has
repeating
unleashed
its
a
nefarious
reign of
terror
terror.
design.
In the 80s, Pakistan was a frontline state in fighting against the occupation of Afghanistan.
Trying to misguide the world about its terrorism module.
The current situation in Afghanistan, for some reason, Pakistan has been blamed for the turn of events. The country that suffered the most, apart from Afghanistan, was Pakistan.
In denial that its soil is a safe haven for terrorists.
The BJP government has intensified repression in Kashmir and continues to vitiate the environment by these barbaric acts.
Imran Khan's bid to use global platform to spew venom against India. Raking up Kashmir again in its desperate attempt to meddle in India's internal matter. But Imran Khan was put in his place by India's First Secretary to the United Nations, Sneha Dubey, in her right to reply as she dismantled Pakistan's lie after lie and exposed them on a global stage. First was the lie about Kashmir.
On the world stage.
In the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, terrorism has been associated with Islam by some quarters. This has increased the tendency of right-wing, xenophobic and violent nationalist, extremists and terrorist groups to target Muslims.
We keep hearing that Pakistan is a victim of terrorism. This is the country which is an arsonist disguising itself as a firefighter. Pakistan nurtures terrorists in their backyard in the hope that they will only harm their neighbors. For the mindset of the person who utters.
Then she debunked Pakistan's allegation on atrocities on minorities in India.
The worst and most pervasive form of Islamophobia now rules India. The hate-filled Hindutva ideology propagated by the fascist RSS BJP regime has unleashed a reign of fear and violence against India's 200 million Muslim strong community.
Unlike Pakistan, India is a pluralistic democracy with a substantial population of minorities who have gone on to hold highest offices in the country. Pluralism is a concept which is very difficult to understand for Pakistan, which constitutionally prohibits its minorities from aspiring for high offices of the state. As to spew falsehoods.
Next, she demolished Imran Khan playing the victim card over terrorism.
New Delhi has also embarked on what it ominously calls the final solution for Jammu and Kashmir dispute. It has undertaken a series of illegal and unilateral measures in occupied Jammu and Kashmir since 5th August 2019. Sustainable peace in South Asia is contingent upon resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute in accordance with the relevant United Nations Security Council resolutions.
The entire union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh were, are, and will always be an integral and inalienable part of India. This includes the areas that are under the illegal occupation of Pakistan. We call upon Pakistan to immediately vacate all areas under its illegal occupation.
As India has done every time, one of the diplomats of India's permanent mission to the United Nations in New York is going to respond to the Prime Minister and spell out exactly what India has done, India's intent, and what Pakistan has been up to. Also, will show mirror to Pakistan that a country that sponsors terrorism, that supports terrorism, should not be the one speaking about peace, stability, and raising fingers or questioning a country like India.
I am taking the floor to set the record straight.
Then India's first secretary to the United Nations exposed Pakistan Prime Minister's propaganda bid to garner support for his nefarious design.
It has undertaken a series of illegal and unilateral measures in occupied Jammu and Kashmir since 5th August 2019. Indian actions violate the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council on Jammu and Kashmir.
This is not the first time the leader of Pakistan has misused platforms provided by the UN to propagate false and malicious propaganda against my country, and seeking in vain to divert the world's attention from the sad state of his country, where terrorists enjoy free pass, while the lives of ordinary people, especially those belonging to the minority communities, are turned upside down on the world.
Pakistan, where terrorists enjoy a free pass, got a blistering retort from India, which left the Imran Khan government red-faced in front of the whole world.
Repeatedly.
While it seems like for Pakistan the focus remains India and what India does, rather than being a global player and focusing on what Pakistan needs to do as a country, as a nation, we've seen Prime Minister Imran Khan and his entire coterie of ministers, including Shah Mahmood Qureshi, rake up Kashmir every now and again. India continues to maintain that all these efforts to malign India and India's intentions are not going to work with the international community.
Regrettably,
with Geeta Mohan in New York, Bureau Report, India Today. The first ever Quad in-person meet was held at Washington, D.C., hosted by US President Joe Biden to discuss key global challenges. Prime Minister Modi raised the issue of clean app movement to rein in Chinese app menace as all 4 members expressed concerns over China and the Taliban. Here's more. Nations unite to checkmate China. The 4 major democracies, US, India, Australia and Japan, joined hands for the first in-person meet of the Quad group held in Washington, D.C. The crucial meet took place in the White House, hosted by US President Joe Biden, presenting a united front amid shared concerns about China. Without naming the dragon, a fact sheet made it clear Beijing was one of their agenda. A free and open Indo-Pacific was the common theme of all 4 leaders who sought better cooperation in the region. Quad statement made frequent mention of the leaders' insistence on rules-based behavior in the Indo-Pacific, where China has been trying to flex its muscle.
हमारा क्वाड एक तरह से फोर्स फॉर ग्लोबल गुड की भूमिका में काम करेगा। मुझे विश्वास है क्वाड में हमारा सहयोग इंडो पैसिफिक में और विश्व में शांति और समृद्धि सुनिश्चित करेगा।
India today has learned that the Quad group was very critical of China. Prime Minister Modi even raised the issue of clean app movement, which is aimed at reining in Chinese app menace, an issue that resonated with US, Australia and Japan.
We are seeing on all aspects India, Japan, US, Australia coming together to counter forces like China who've continued bullying. The statement that comes is one that really in no uncertain words says that these countries and the countries in the region are not going to continue taking bullying from China.
Prime Minister Modi further stated that the Quad vaccine initiative will help Indo-Pacific nations.
हमारा क्वाड वैक्सीन इनिशिएटिव इंडो पैसिफिक देशों की बड़ी मदद करेगा।
The talks also focused on Taliban and Afghanistan. Other issues like COVID management, vaccine partnership, 8 million doses of biological E and Johnson & Johnson vaccines for the Quad pool, along with common international COVID protocols for travelers, were also discussed. US President Joe Biden also stressed on taking on common challenges of Quad nations.
Who share a worldview and have a common vision for the future, coming together to take on key challenges of our age, from COVID to climate to emerging technologies. It embodies an approach I spoke of at the UN earlier this week.
While Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga vowed to make the region stronger and more prosperous.
So we stand here together in the Indo-Pacific region, a region that we wish to be always free from coercion, where the sovereign rights of all nations are respected and where disputes are settled peacefully in accordance with international law.
The Quad is an extremely significant initiative by 4 countries who share fundamental values, cooperating the cause of realizing a free and open international order based on the rule of law in the Indo-Pacific.
Quad was formed to counter China's military and political influence in the Indo-Pacific region, and the group made clear its intent of taming the dragon. With Geeta Mohan in Washington, D.C., Bureau Report, India Today. Shifting focus, 1 week after swearing in as the Chief Minister of Punjab, Charanjit Singh Channi is all set for the expansion of his government at 4:30 p.m. today. According to sources, the Congress MLAs to be inducted in Chief Minister Channi's cabinet got the nod of Congress Member of Parliament Rahul Gandhi. Chief Minister Channi, along with Punjab Congress Chief Navjot Singh Sidhu, visited the national capital ahead of the cabinet expansion. Sources have revealed that 15 new ministers are likely to be inducted into the cabinet. The names of Brahm Mohindra, Rana Gurjeet, Manpreet Badal, Tript Rajinder Bajwa, Sukhbinder Singh Sarkaria, Aruna Chaudhary, Razia Sultana have come up in the run-up to the cabinet expansion. We've also learned that some captain loyalists are likely to be dropped from the cabinet. Balbir Sidhu, Rana Gurmeet Sodhi, Gurpreet Singh Kangar and Sadhu Singh Dharmsot are among those who are likely to be dropped. Bollywood actor Arjun Rampal's brother-in-law has been arrested by the NCB. The arrest was made after drugs were recovered from his possession in Goa on Saturday. The crackdown was part of a joint operation by the Narcotics Control Bureau, Mumbai and Goa. In fact, Agesiolus has been remanded to judicial custody, but this isn't the first time he has in fact been under the NCB's radar. He was arrested by the agency in October 2020 when his name surfaced in the drug probe linked to the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. Arjun Rampal too was summoned twice by the NCB for questioning along with his partner Gabriella. Welcome back. Delhi Capitals have all but sealed their place in the playoff of this season's IPL with a win over Rajasthan Royals before Punjab Kings registered a thrilling last ball win against Sunrisers Hyderabad. Despite a poor start, Delhi Capitals managed to post a modest 154 for 6 thanks to Shreyas Iyer's 45 in a wicket where the ball wasn't coming onto the bat. Rajasthan had a worse start, losing their first 3 wickets for just 17. Captain Sanju Samson batted right till the end for his 70th not out. Delhi bowlers kept a tight leash on the batsmen to restrict Royals to 121 for 6 for their 8th win of the season. In the second match of the day, Sunrisers Hyderabad made a mess of the run chase after restricting Punjab for just 125 for 7. Hyderabad just couldn't get going with their batting order collapsing like 9 pins. Only Jason Holder proved to be a threat for Punjab, but even his unbeaten 47 wasn't enough to get Hyderabad a win. With their 4th victory, this one a 5-run win, Punjab have somehow managed to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Sunrisers Hyderabad.